Okay, second grade, this is your reading, writing companion work for Wednesday, pages 2 through 4. We are going to start reading the story called
Cesar Chavez.
What Do Real Heroes Do? We're going to read about a man named Cesar Chavez who took action to improve the lives of others. And I believe this is Cesar right here as a boy, and then Cesar right up here as a man. And you're going to learn what this accent marks right here, Cesar Chavez, has to do with how we say his name.
Who are your heroes? For many farm workers, Cesar Chavez is a hero. He is the brave man who spent his life helping them. Childhood. Cesar Chavez was born in Arizona. His parents taught him about learning, hard work, and respect. Cesar worked on the family farm as a young boy. He helped care for the farm animals. His mother and grandmother taught Cesar about caring. Many people came to their door asking for food, and his kind family always shared.
Okay, so let's take a look at paragraphs 2 and 3. We start with a heading here, okay? And this heading tells us that they're going to talk about his childhood. So what did Cesar Chavez's family teach him about? These two paragraphs give us a lot of information. The most important thing seems to be what Cesar learned from his family in his childhood. His parents taught him about learning, hard work, and respect. His mother and grandmother also taught him about caring.
Cesar had a strong interest in education. This desire to learn was sometimes hard on him. Spanish was his first language, but he needed to learn and study English. At school, he was punished for speaking Spanish.
So, Cesar Chavez is Spanish, and that's why we have the accent marks above his name, okay? It makes us really emphasize those letters when we say his name, okay? Biographies follow a time sequence. This is a biography about Cesar Chavez. This is called chronological order. So they tell what happened first, next, and last. So far, we know that Cesar was born in Arizona, and as a child, he spoke Spanish, worked on the family farm, and went to school. So we're starting at the beginning of his life, his childhood. Now, what happened to Cesar at school?
His mother taught Cesar to find peaceful ways to solve problems. These lessons helped him succeed later in life. He would win struggles without fighting.
Okay, Mrs. Ostin's going to pause the recording here, and I'm going to go take you to the answers page so we can do the right-hand side of our book. Okay, up at the top, it says summarize. In the second and third paragraph here, circle what Cesar Chavez's family taught him in school. So you should have two circles. First, his parents taught him about learning, hard work, and respect. And second, his mother and grandmother taught Cesar about caring. So those are the two circles that you should have. Now it says summarize how he learned about caring for others. So we're going to take these two and put them in our own words, okay? Summarize. Look at the key things. Okay, so how did he learn to care for others? He helped care for farm animals, and his family always shared with others. So you could list one or both of those. Okay, those are the two things that helped him learn about caring. Now, in the fifth paragraph down at the bottom, we're going to work on sequence. So chronological order, what happened first, second, third, last. It says draw a box around what Cesar's mother taught him. So his mother taught Cesar to find peaceful ways to solve problems. And then underline how this helped him succeed later in life. Last sentence, he would win struggles without fighting. Okay, second graders, go ahead and turn to page 4. We're going to read one more page today. You can see that we have a new heading. So hard times. Think about what this page is going to talk about for Cesar Chavez's life.
Hard times. When Cesar was 10, it did not rain for a long time. This drought caused the plants on the farm to die. Without crops to sell, Cesar's family couldn't afford to keep the farm. Then Cesar's family moved to California where there was no drought. His family traveled from farm to farm and worked the crops. Cesar and his family would quickly discover that migrant farm workers had difficult lives. Their challenging jobs forced them to work long hours for little money. The workers bent over all day tending the crops. The work they had to perform made their backs hurt and their fingers bleed. If workers complained, farm owners fired them.
Timeline of Cesar Chavez's life. 1927. Cesar is born on March 31st. 1939. Chavez family moves to California. 1942. Cesar finishes 8th grade, begins full-time farm work. 1962. Started National Farm Workers Association. 1965. He convinces the workers to have a strike. 1991. Cesar gives speeches about treating workers fairly. 1993. Cesar helped farm workers until he dies on April 23rd. 1994. He wins the U.S. Medal of Freedom.
Okay, this timeline shows the most important events in Cesar Chavez's life and when they happened. We read that there was a drought when Cesar was 10. This caused the plants on the farm to die up. Without crops to sell, Cesar's family had to move to California. When I look at the timeline, I can see that his family moved in 1939. Since Cesar turned 10 in 1937, the drought must have lasted about 2 years. No wonder his family couldn't stay on the farm with no rain for crops for 2 years. Okay, we'll go through the answers on the left-hand column of your reading writing companion. In paragraphs 1 and 2, it says, underline what the drought caused. Okay, so now drought is a bold print word right here, a word that we maybe need to remember what it is. Okay, this drought caused the plants on the farm to die. So no water, no rain causes the crops to dry. Now it says circle 2 reasons why the family moved. Okay, so you should have circled without crops to sell. Cesar's family couldn't afford to keep them. And Cesar's family moved to California where there was no drought. Then it says circle this event in the timeline. So we learned that Cesar's family moved to California in 1939. So you need to circle that down here in the timeline. So that first one was an underline, 2 circles up in the text, and 1 circle down in the timeline. Paragraph 3, it says summarize. Draw a box around what the family discovered in California. So the very first sentence, okay? They discovered that that migrant farm workers had difficult lives. So you could have just boxed right here under the last part, migrant farm workers had difficult lives. No matter where they lived, it was still really hard to work on a farm. Okay, so now you're going to summarize that in your own words. So you could put farm workers worked hard for very little money, or you could put farm owners fired them if they complained. So one or the other down there on the bottom. You can put it in your own words too. So you can pause the video right here. This is your reading, writing companion work for Wednesday.